Hello guys and welcome back to my YouTube channel. This is the part 15 of the DBMS Mini Project series. In this video, I will be explaining you how to use triggers. Okay, so now let me just show you a small demonstration of this. I am inserting a value in, I'm actually trying to do a transaction here. Okay, and this is the library management software. As you can see, this particular borrower has got no books borrowed, and I'm going to issue this book with 103 for this borrower. And after I issue the book, okay, I can see that by using triggers I can get a complete log of the transactions that has happened. So this this log here is totally happening because of a trigger. So I will be showing you this in this video. So without wasting much time, let's get into the video and see how this thing can be done. Okay, so here I have made some small modifications from my previous video. Firstly, I have this is my transactions user control. So I have added this data grid view and one more button here. It's called as show log of transaction. And let me just show you my tables. I have added a new table here. Okay, so this is my new table, transaction underscore log. For the triggering functionality, what I'm going to do is whatever data is inserted into this table, it will automatically be also inserted into this table. So that thing will be taken care of by a trigger. So first let me say you something. What is a trigger? A trigger is something, okay, it's like when there is some action performed on one thing. So let me say that I have a trigger, it says something and I'm applying this trigger on this table. So what the trigger does is I can tune the trigger in such a way that if something is happening on this table, that has to perform something else. Okay, so for example, like when you have a gun, you have the thing that you press on a gun and that shoots the bullet, right? So that basically is called as a trigger, because when you use the trigger, something happens. It's not the perfect definition or stuff, but that is just to make you understand. Okay, so now I have this data grid view, and when this button is coded in such a way that when you click on this button, the data from this this new table, which is my transaction log table, will be loaded onto this. And the code for this is very similar to the refresh data grid view functionalities that I have been showing in my previous videos. So make sure that you watch that videos as well. So now let me directly go into the trigger part of it. Okay. If you see my previous video, that's my 14th video, there are I have explained how I've written a code to issue a book and return a book. Okay, I have made a small modifications on that code. Okay, up to this point I had explained it in my previous video. Now this is the insert functionality. When you insert, okay, what I used to do in the previous video was I made an update in the books table and in the borrowers table when a transaction was happening. So now in this new modification, what I've done is the data, whatever is happened in the transaction, that is being reflected inside my transaction table as well. This is the transaction table which I had it from starting. Okay, so whenever you issue a book, after the data is being updated in books and borrowers, that transactions details, like the transaction number, which is automatically incremented by the way, the date of the transaction, the borrower ID of the borrower, the book number, and the expected return date, all these things, okay, these things are automatically added. And for adding that, this is the code. Okay, I'll not be explaining you this code because it's very similar to the codes in my normal inserting functionalities. Okay, it's almost the same, and I have a stored procedure here. Obviously I'm using the stored procedure method, and I'll show you the stored procedure also. It's here. Okay, so the this is the stored procedure for inserting into the transaction. So inside the issue functionality, I have used that stored procedure, and this much part of the code is almost, actually it's ditto same like insert code as I have shown you in my video 11, I mean part 11 and part 12. That's where I have explained the stored procedure technique for books and borrowers. Okay, so it's the same code, so please follow that video and you will understand this also. And even the stored procedure is the same. Only the name and the parameters are changing. It's that same insert thing. Only difference there, I wrote the entire thing in a single line. Here I've written it in different lines so that it's easy for me to understand. Okay, it's totally based upon your interests. You can write it in straight line also, there is no error in that. And you just update the stored procedure, and all these things I was talking about is for the issue button, and for the return button also there is a modification. Okay, here I am not when the book is returned, I will be deleting that transaction detail from the transaction table. Okay, so whatever was inserted at the time the book was issued will be deleted when the book is returned. So I have a different stored procedure for deleting, and this is the same logic as of how you can delete. I've shown it in my video 12, I believe, or it's either in video 11 or 12, part 11 or 12. There I've explained how you can delete from a database. So it's the same logic that I've used, so make sure that you watch that as well. Okay, and again the code inside this, okay, like right from here sorry. Okay, so this is the only difference, and this is exactly the code that is required for deleting something from your database. Okay, so perfect. So we have done that. Now I will tell you where the trigger is going to come. Okay, so I'm going to keep this video as short as possible. I'm just going to explain the trigger concept in this video. So the scenario is like this. Whenever you're issuing the book, you're adding the transaction details into the transactions table, and whenever you're returning the book, the whatever that the transaction was there, that will be deleted. But inside the transaction log, either you issue a book or you return a book, everything will be inserted into the transaction log. Like after the book is returned, basically there is no details regarding that particular transaction inside the transaction table. But what I want is inside the transaction log, I want each and every transaction, either be it an issue or be it a return, I want each and every transaction to be registered inside the transaction log. So that is my aim. Okay, so how do I do that? You need to add a trigger for this. And how always remember, trigger is related to your database. It always happens in the back end. So trigger is not at all related to your front end. So there is nothing you have to do in the front end with respect to trigger. Everything that you do is based on the back end. Okay, so now what I'll do is I'll select the table, and trigger is applied on a table. Okay, so please do remember that also, trigger is always applied on a table. So I'll select this table here called transactions table, because this is the table into which I'm going to add my trigger. I will right click. There is an option called as add new trigger. Okay, I'll just click on this, and when I click on that, you can see that you get a syntax like this. Okay, I have already created a trigger, but this is how you will be getting it, because you're doing it for the first time. Okay, so I've made a totally different trigger for issuing the book and totally different trigger for returning the book, because when you're issuing the book, you're adding data into the transactions table, and when you're returning the book, you're deleting data from the transaction table. So it's like inserting and deleting, two are totally different operations, so you need two separate triggers for them. Okay, so this is the trigger for inserting data. So the first thing, you need to change the name. You need to give a trigger name. Okay, and then on whatever comes is your table. Okay, I think it's better that I explain you with the new trigger itself. Okay, so this is how you are going to get it. So first thing, you need to change this, create trigger. This is going to be your trig name. This is going to be the name of your trigger. So make sure that this is a very meaningful name with respect to whatever project you are doing. Don't just call it trig name on something, because it'll get confusing after some time. And on this thing here, right, this is going to be the name of the table on which you're going to apply the trigger. Like in my case, I'm going to apply this particular trigger on the transactions table. Okay, so transactions, got it? So you have to write the name of the table on which the trigger is applied, and for you will be having an option like this. So what this line means, that it can be either for delete or for insert or for update or for all the three or for any two. Okay, so for delete means this trigger happens on this table when the delete is performed on that table. So for insert means that this trigger will be applied on the transactions table when the insert is when an insert operation is performed, and in the same way update means the trigger will be activated when the update is performed on the transactions table. Okay, so that's the meaning of that lines. Okay, so I am writing the trigger for insert. Remember I told you I need the trigger to be fired, or the trigger to be activated when data is inserted into the transactions. So I'm going to do for insert as begin. Okay, so those things will be there as it is. Okay, and here you're going to modify your trigger. You're going to write whatever is required by you. Okay, I'll just show that to you here itself. first thing I need to, and by the way guys, this is a totally different programming language. Okay, this is your SQL server language. This is not C sharp. It's little different here, so try to follow me on this. Okay, first you are going to declare variables, and all variables have to be annotated. You have to write this @ symbol before them. Okay, so I am taking two variables, so declare BRID integer and declare BKID integer. BRID will basically be my borrower's ID, and declare BKID will be my book's ID. Now if I will show you the table, okay, this is my borrowers table and this is my books table. If you see here, select @BRID is equal to BRID from inserted. That's interesting. There is something called inserted. So let me say you what is inserted. Whenever you're going to do any inserting operations on any table, okay, I'm not talking about just my table. In any SQL Server database, if you are inserting value into any table, the SQL Server itself will maintain a virtual table called as the inserted table. Okay, this will be a table which you cannot normally access. So if you're probably if you have a subject called DBMS and you're using your let me say maybe you are going to use SQL plus, or maybe you're using MySQL, inside that you cannot access this particular table called inserted. This is a system default table. It's like a virtual table. Okay, so this can be used only with triggers. So this is a keyword, this thing called inserted, it's a keyword, so make sure that you write the spellings correct. So what this table will contain is the exact data of the table into which the insert action was performed. So for example, if I'm inserting something into the transaction table, the table called inserted will be having a copy of the entire transactions table, and it will be having the latest modifications performed also. Okay, it's sort of a little complicated thing to explain like this, so just go along with what I say you. Okay, so it is just a normal table and the table is called inserted. You cannot change the name to anything because it's a default name. It's called inserted itself. You should not change it to anything else. So basically I know that there is something called as BRID, so inside the transactions table. So I'm going to assign the value of BRID. So it's like select BRID from inserted, and I need the BRID to be stored inside this. So I'm writing @BRID is equal to this BRID here is from your table here. Okay, BR underscore ID, and this book underscore num is from your transactions book underscore num here. But this BKID and BRID is the variables that you have declared. Okay, so it's easy to understand. Just make sure that you are following this. Okay, so by the time I reach to this part, I have the values for BRID and BKID. Now what I have to do is I have to insert that value inside the transactions log table. So I'm going to write the code as insert into transactions log values, and here if you see in transaction log, I'm having just two columns. Okay, first column is ID. I'll open you the schema of this. Yeah, if you see here, okay, this is an identity. Identity means it will be automatically incremented. I cannot alter the value of this particular attribute. And how did I do that? I clicked on this, I went here, there is a thing called as is identity here. Okay, you expand this and this will be false by default. I made it as true, and I have shown you the same thing in my earlier videos where I was actually making the transactions table. Okay, so insert into transactions values. So basically I just have to insert the value for the log data, and log data like I have shown you, it's a huge, it's 100 character sized varchar. So basically I'm going to insert data like borrower with borrower ID. So this is a static text and this is inside the double quotes. Okay, plus cast of @BRID as numchar. So what you're doing here is this BRID, whatever you get, it need not, I think this, yeah, this BRID is an integer data type. Okay, but I need that to be as varchar only, n varchar only, then I can insert it along with this. Otherwise it will give you syntax errors or some random runtime errors. So you need to write this cast of your variable name as and the data type into which you're going to convert. That's your n varchar. It has to be n varchar because you need it to be an n varchar here of 8. This is your preference, you can give it whatever you want, but make sure that this whatever you give here is a little big, so that if now for example, if the BRID is 9, I mean the size of BRID is 9 digits and you're giving only 8, this will surely give you an error. So make sure that you give it a decently huge number. Okay, in the same way, plus borrowed the book with accession number is equal to, and I'm casting the book ID, and on okay, and this is going to get me the date. So you can see that here I've written a function, it's in pink color. It means that this is also a keyword. This get date is a function which will get me the current date and time. Okay, and again I'm converting that into nvarchar. This process of conversion is called as parsing, parsing. You can google that and try to learn more about it. Okay, so that's it. And once you write the trigger, you just click on update. Now I'll also show you the trigger that I've used for returning the books. It's basically everything is the same till here. So again you're going to sorry, everything is same, like ditto, everything is same. The only thing is here I have where is that trigger? Okay, so got it. So this is the trigger. Here I've written at this is for the issue functionality. I've given it as for insert, but right now for the second thing, the trigger will be for delete. Okay, I'll just get out the remaining stuff. Yeah, it will be like instead of delete. Okay, so this is going to be the trigger. It will be instead of deletes, because I need to perform this operation just before deleting. After I delete it from my transactions table, there is no point in searching for this, because this will always return me null values, because it's already deleted. So before deleting, this trigger has to be ignited, or the trigger has to be fired. So I'm going to write as instead of delete, and here I used to write it as for delete, for insert. So this basically happens after, so this trigger will be fired after the inserting is done. Okay, so let us see how this entire thing works. I will run this and show it to you, and I'll explain you the process along with that. Okay, so the app is running right now. Okay, I'm going to transactions. In the transactions, I'm going to type my book, my borrower's ID 1001, and I'm going to write the book 103. And first itself, I will click on show log form of tran, and this, by the way, is my log of transactions. Okay, this is not my normal transactions. And now after I issue a book, okay, watch this out. When I'm issuing the book, first thing, it will be issued inside the database, like all the updating as I've shown in my previous video will happen. After that, the transactions table will the whatever things have been done here, it will be inserted into the transactions table, and once it's inserted into transactions table, my trigger will fire, and the trigger will automatically copy that value inside my transactions log table. So now when I click this, you can see that it has already updated that borrower with ID is equal to 1001. Okay, borrowed the book with accession number 103 on November 16 2017. Okay, that's the date. It's November 16 2017 and 8:06 p.m. So that time, this computer science, it's whenever you are going to do computer programming, you have to imagine stuff. You can't physically see it, so please try to imagine what I'm trying to explain. Okay, I can't show you the table just like that. You will have to imagine it a bit. Really sorry, but please try to understand this. Okay, if you can see borrower ID with ID is equal to, it's the exact same thing that has come, and this much of code that cast of this thing here. Okay, this is basically casting my, it is copying like this entire value here, and it is converting it and it is pasting here. And borrowed the book with accession number, see, this is exactly the same, borrowed the book with accession number. Okay, so I hope you guys have understood this thing, how it works. If you still have any doubts, like if you have not understood any specific thing, please comment them below, so that if possible I will make a separate video and clear that specific doubts. So apart from that, I guess you have understood how the trigger works and how the syntax is. Okay, and if possible I will if I come out with a better way to explain triggers, I surely will make a video and explain you that. Okay, and coming to certain questions which I get in my comments. Okay, please make your like whenever you write a comment, like I'm not saying that it's a complaint, but if you get an error and if you're writing the comment there, please explain what did you do for the error to come, like where did the error come and what exactly did the error come. If you just tell me like for example, okay, I tried to insert something and an error came. I cannot understand like why the error come, because there can be thousands of reasons why a particular error will come. If you just say that I tried to insert a value and error came, that makes no sense, because I have no idea why that error came. But if you tell me that okay, I tried this, I did so and so thing, and then the error came in this particular part of the code, That gives me a better idea, and that will help me to understand your error, and I can give you replies sooner also. So let us try to like guys, whenever you write any comments regarding an error that has come, please try to describe where the error has come, and uh, like what exactly is the error message that has come. And if you guys have tried this out, I mean, I don't know how many of you guys really tried out, but whenever you get an error, the first thing you should do is see where the error has come and try to think it from the computer's point of view. Most of the times when we developers make a software, we don't think it from the computer's perspective. We always think it like, okay, I wrote it, it has to come. But whenever you are searching for an error, or if you want to find the solution for an error, you need to understand how the computer is going to process it and why that error would have been occurred. That will solve half of your problem. And still, if you have an error, what you need to do is, in that exception box that comes, okay, it's a huge paragraph. It'll be like a huge paragraph. I know people don't like to read huge paragraphs, but the first 3 to 4 lines, that that lines itself will kind of describe your error. Visual Studio is a really powerful IDE. It like whenever you get the error, 9 on 10 times the error is very descriptive. So when you read that error message thoroughly, some 2-3 times, you will understand what is the error. You can also Google that exact same words. And there'll be many people, many other people also who have got the doubts. Okay, so there will be solutions online. If you still didn't find it, please comment it below. Okay, so the reason why I'm saying this is because these days I'm getting too many emails and comments asking for errors. So if you guys try this out, okay, it will really help you guys in the future also, because even when you make programming on other languages or anything for the matter, there is a method to clear the error. Okay, so please try to follow this. It will surely help you as software developers. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you guys have understood, and again, if you have any doubts, please comment them below, and please be a little bit more descriptive in your error related doubts. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching till the end. I hope you guys find my videos useful. If you really like my video, please hit that like button, and also subscribe to my channel if you have not yet subscribed, and do share my work with others also, so that it can be helpful for others as well. So thank you guys so much, and see you in the next video. Bye until then.